Ciao, jewelry makers. My name is Joey Balistreri, and today we're going to do a very simple but unique and beautiful project together that literally takes only a few minutes. And if you have any kind of events coming up this fall and winter where you need to dress up a little bit, I can almost guarantee that this is going to get attention and be a great conversation starter. So this is one of my sample pieces that I made, and it's a little bit hard to see on my mat, so I will put up some pictures on the bust. But this is a choker style necklace that is very simple with only a few elements, and it has no closure. You simply open it like this and put it around your neck. It is created on necklace size memory wire. So let me show you what went into my sample piece. Give you a close-up of the dangles on the end. Even the head pins that I found have a little bling at the end of them. So let me show you what went into this piece here. This one I used this beadle-on memory wire. And this is round, but it's extra heavy duty diameter and it's extra large necklace memory wire. Now, that being said, you will have a very difficult time, probably, as I did, taking the memory wire, the ends of it, and turning it with your pliers the way that we do on memory wire bracelets, because it is heavy duty stainless steel. So I had to design a way to use this as a choker necklace without doing that loop on the end. So I am going to show you what I came up with a scrap of wire and these little memory wire end caps, and there are alternatives to that. So if you stay with me to the end of the video, I'm going to show you another version of this choker style necklace that's actually reversible. So anyway, that's your beginning item, is the beadle-on necklace size memory wire. And then on this piece, I used from the clearance section of Michael's a bead landing chain, the beaded chain that's already done for you. So that's this chain here. And then I used some of these beautiful 10 millimeter crystal faceted barrel beads that were in the October bargain bead box this year to make my dangles. And then again, from the clearance aisle at Hobby Lobby, I had a strand of beads, which I've cut open, but I got the entire strand for $1.49. And from that strand, I chose the crystal rondelle spacers and these little crystal rondelles, and just put together a dangle for the end. And then I do not remember where I got these. I believe one of the craft stores, but these are little head pins with a little rhinestone at the end. So it gives just a little added sparkle at the end of my dangle. So those are the elements that went into my first choker. And so let me show you the supplies that I've selected for the one we're going to do together. I wanted to leave my sample here for us to look at while we're working. I hope it won't be in the way. So on the one we're going to create together, I'm using the same product but in the gold. So it again is round, heavy duty diameter, extra large necklace memory wire. So we need actually less than a complete round of this. So the way I do that is to get the coil open so that I can see a complete round. And then you really have to have a heavy duty cutter or these memory wire cutters in order to work with this. That is true of any of the memory wire, but in particular, you will destroy your cutters, your flush cutters or your more fine cutters if you try to cut this with those. So please don't do that. You will definitely end up having to buy a new pair of cutters if you do. So I have the memory wire cutters, which are made for memory wire, and on this heavy duty, it is, a little bit of you need a little bit of strength to cut it. So I don't need a complete circle because I want this little gap that's right here. So here's my one end, and so if you can see, I am going to cut right about there, because again, I want that measurement to be to be pretty good because I was really almost completely unable to turn a loop on the end of this heavy duty. It makes a great choker, but it's just really tough to cut. So I came up with a design that is much easier on the hands, and for beginners, you wouldn't even have to worry about turning a loop. So then let me pull out my other supplies here. This is the two little small end caps for the memory wire, and I'll show you how they come. I don't want to lose those. Let me put them right there because we'll need those at the end. So I found the end cap beads for the memory wire on Amazon, and it comes in a little package like this, and they come in the gold and silver. So the box contained all of the different packets, and they come small, medium, and large. So let me just take them out and show you. This is the large size, this is the medium size, and this is the small size. And then you have the same in the silver in this little variety pack that I found on Amazon. So I've chosen the really tiny ones, and that's what we're going to use today. But I thought that supply might be new. The availability of this supply might be new to some of you, so I thought I would show you how it came. Okay, and then I also pulled out some Jesse James beads chain reaction. I think I got this in a bundle, so this is what's left of this particular one after I did this project. So let me pull in my little dish here and show you what we have. So here are my 2 scraps of 20 gauge wire. Show you what that looks like. I always use the Beadle-On round medium temper German style wire, and I just keep my scraps in this little bag with my coil, and so that's what I am using today, is just some scraps. And then I have already made one of the dangles for the end, so that's ready to go. And I have in here my sections of chain that I already cut, and I'll talk to you a little bit about why I did that in advance, because on the chain reaction there was a little bit of a pattern with the crystals, that components that are already created in the chain, and I wanted them to sort of alternate on the front of my choker. And then I have the components in my dish, a head pin and just the same components to duplicate the one that I already made. So we'll just set that aside. We're not going to be quite ready for that yet. So here are the lengths of chain. And what I decided to do was to start I did this one a little bit longer than the other. So that's the other thing about this design. You can make it as dramatic and long as you want, or you could shorten it and have it, be almost just a small sort of charm sort of design. But I like the offset. I like to have one really long and then one a bit shorter. And I think on this one, I've decided to have at the top of my necklace this open diamond component starting at the top. And I laid this out so that my crystal beads on these 2 sections of chains are alternating like that. So it's sort of an asymmetrical design. So those are my 2 sections of chain, and simply we're going to create a component to match this one to go on the other end, and your chain is done. So as I said, this is a really simple and easy design. So let's just recreate this together, starting with the head pin. These are actually, let me string this up and then I'll show you my exact pieces that went into this dangle. I actually took these barrel beads from that same clearance bead strand that I got at Hobby Lobby. But you can create these. It's simply a little bead pattern, so you can create these with anything that you have in your stash or anything that coordinates with your chain. And then I did a simple loop on this. So right where this head pin wire is exiting that little gold spacer bead, we're going to make a bend in the wire. So just, a little bit of a bend, like right where it's exiting, if you can see that. And then I just want to leave about 1/4 of an inch there. So I'm going to cut off that extra. I did the other one fairly short, so I'm going to try to repeat that on this one. Oh, my little gold bead jumped right off the top when I took my scrap. It's okay. I can put him back on before I wrap. Okay. Now I'm just going to take my round nose pliers and just simply roll that back. Nice and tight. Okay. So that one is ready. Now we can open that loop that we just made exactly as if it were a jump ring. So just twist it forward, and that is going to be strung onto this last component of this beaded chain. Need to open it a tiny bit more. And then, as always, just make sure that it's closed really well. Okay, so that part of the necklace is done, and we're going to do this side. Just open this one. Oh, I just bent it a little bit. I grabbed it. There. And add that one. Close the loop really well. Okay, so our 2 chains that hang on the front of the choker are finished. So now let me show you what we do for this. So in order to keep my chains hanging where I want and not having them slide around the back of my choker, I needed to create a stopper. And then since this is so heavy duty and I could not bend it very well. I mean, I could bend it, but my loops were misshapen and it just didn't look good. So what I'm going to do is take one of these scrap pieces of wire and get it over my memory wire and just sort of fold it in half, and that begins the process of creating the wraps around the wire. And this is so sturdy, you can actually use it for leverage and get a hold of it, and you will definitely need to bring in your pliers, and it won't be tight at first, but that's okay. You'll see how we tighten it up as we go. And then I am just simply creating some wraps around that wire, and I think I had sort of settled on 6. Now I don't want to twist my wraps, but that's okay. You can straighten it up, tidy it up as you're working. So if you can see, they're a little bit messy, but I got myself started, and now I'm just going to use my pliers to tighten that. See this side? The same. It needs tidying up, but that's the nature of this when you start creating those wraps. So it's already tightening a little bit on my memory wire, and I don't want it this far from the end. I'm going, before I continue to tighten, I'm going to move it forward a little bit because I want just a little bit of space for my chain right there. So I think there are a few wraps there, but I want a little bit more. So this does 2 things. It creates a stopper for your chain not sliding all the way around the choker, but it also adds a beautiful design element right to the front of the choker. This pretty little coil that appears right at the front. So it just makes the memory wire choker part not look so plain. So I actually love the way this turned out. Let's see. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I want to try to repeat this on the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6. Maybe I'll do 8 on this one. Go one more time on this side and one more time on this side. So it's still a little bit loose, but I'll show you what happens. So we're going to take our flush cutters, the back side, and get that as close as we can to the memory wire. And do the same thing with the other end that we were wrapping. And now we come in with our pliers and tighten it up and put it in its final position. So I'm going to pull all my coils together, and it's kind of like chasing the wire. If you can see what I'm doing, it's kind of like chasing the 20 gauge wire around the memory wire with the pliers. And we'll do the same thing on this end, because you want to really squeeze the wire that you've wrapped as tight as you can to your memory wire, because you don't want this sliding as well, because then there's nothing stopping it. But see, it's already nice and tight, and you can play with it until you have it just the way that you want it. It's not difficult. And as you guys know, I can't help myself. I tend to fuss with things like this before I move on to the next step. So I want to make sure they're super tight together and super tight around my choker part. And then I'll just feel it with my finger and make sure that I don't have anything sharp, because again, this is going to be laying pretty close to the skin, to the neck, and you don't want anything that's going to be uncomfortable or scratching the wearer. So I'm very happy with that. So now we can do the other side. I'm just going to show you this again. Normally I would do the second part off camera, but this is really the most difficult part of this necklace and the trickiest part. So I'm just going to do it on camera again. So sort of get that scrap piece of 20 gauge wire over the memory wire and fold it in half, pinch it in half. You know, it's a little awkward getting the wraps started, but once you do, it gets easier. And see where I am on the wire, it doesn't matter. Just get your coil, get it started the best way that you can. So I have a few going now, and let me get back where I want to be, because I want to start my tightening process. So you can see how it starts out, and that's okay. It looks like a mess at first, but you start working with it. So I think I ended up with eight wraps on the other side, so I'm going to try to accomplish the same thing on this side, because this is the front of the choker. So we do want to take our time and get this as neat as we can. And I want it to be about the same position away from the end as I did the other side. And it's already feeling nice and tight. So let's see where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me do 6, 7, 8. So that should match the other side. And I'm going to get rid of this excess now. And just do the same thing that I did. Bring those coils tight together, and then chase the end. I don't know if you can see how it looks when you cut it, but so this little sharp end where I just cut it, that is the part I want to chase it around my memory wire, and that will be the final tightening. I might have to turn this around. I hope you can still see, but I want to get it nice and tight. So just sort of with your pliers, chase it around and do it on the other end as well. So those wraps, that coil is really tight. That's important. You'll see when we put the chain on why it's important, because that is literally going to hold everything in place. So it feels nice and smooth, and let me just check. It's not as tight as I want it, so let me just work it for another moment. Bringing those coils tight together, and just use my plier. If you can see, I'm kind of gently opening and closing my plier, going around the circumference of the memory wire. And it's like, you know, that's the best phrase I can think, is chasing the wrapped coils around. And that works really well. So that side is now done as well. So on this particular one, this loop on the chain, on this chain reaction, is you're not able to open it or close it. So let me talk to you about what I saw as I was assembling the necklace. I had to pause the video because I realized that with this particular chain reaction with this diamond, that I want it to lay flat against the skin. So if I were to string this on just as it is in the chain, can you see what would be happening? The diamond would be hanging sideways and not facing flat. So I need it to hang like this. I know it's very difficult to see in my hand, but I need the diamond to be hanging like this on the front. So I really didn't want to use a jump ring, but my solution was to remove this one little loop on this particular chain, which comes off very easily. I want to get it a little bit closer than that. When you remove a little loop, you want to make sure you didn't leave any bits of sharp wire, sharp metal behind. And that one is still feeling a little bit sharp. So I have a small little file. There, that's better. Okay, so my solution is a very small 4mm jump ring, and I'm going to attach that to that final diamond segment on this chain, and that will make the diamond hang flat against the skin when the choker is on the neck. So, depending on the chain that you use, you will have to assess the way it's going to drop from the choker. And that's what happened to me on this piece. Is in my connection I realized that it wasn't oriented where I want it to go. But if you can see now with that jump ring, now it is. So this part is really simple. I'm going to bring in my small tube of E6000 glue, and you just need a tiny bit on the tip of this memory wire, just like a little bead, just a tiny bit like that. And then one of these end caps. So it is so tiny. I'm just going to do my best to get it on there and, hopefully stay in camera. Now you can just take, I always advise to have a toothpick when you're working with E6000 glue so that you can clean up, but I have some little scraps of wire here, which works as well. Just clean it up. I mean, this, you have time with E6000. It doesn't set up immediately like super glue. So, and I just want to make sure that that is on there. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Turn this around. And I had already, when I realized the way this chain was oriented, I had already done this side. So do the exact same thing. Put my end of my chain, a little tiny little ball, little bead of glue is all you need. So you can make this necklace. I mean, it comes together really fast. Literally, if you were invited to a party in the morning or the day before, you could make this. The only time consuming part is waiting for this little bit of E6000 glue to dry. So you could literally do this the day before an event. And, as I was looking at this, you could make this as sparkly as you wanted it. You could make this a very formal look, but I thought this could even dress up a black t-shirt and jeans. So this choker is done. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then I will take some pictures and get this up for you to see, because I know most designs are difficult to see on the mat, but in particular, this one because of the long chains and because of the choker nature of it. So let me show you one that I did that is a little bit more advanced, still easy to do, but a little bit more advanced. And again, I'll get some pictures up, but this one, I did it reversible, and I did a little something different for the end caps. Instead of those memory wire end caps, I used a little flower spacer bead. Same thing, E6000 glue, same exact process. And then on this one, I decided to use plain chain instead of beaded chain and make dramatic, very sparkly drops. Now, what makes this reversible? Let me take it off of the bust and turn it around. What makes this reversible is that I strung some beads on this side, and I did my same process here with the coils, same exact technique that we just did, and I added some crystal rondelle spacers. And so this way you could wear this as a delicate choker. If your outfit had a V-neck back or a backless back, then this part is hanging down your back. And if you wanted this part to be in the front, with the drama of this piece in the front, it works beautifully that way as well. So the only thing I will say that I discovered, because once again, this is heavy duty memory wire, is that I had to really search through my supplies for things that would string onto this. So let me show you what I used to make this one. So as I went through looking for things that had holes big enough to string onto this heavy duty memory wire, I found that this 4-strand set of glass beads that came from Michaels worked really well. So let's see, these are sapphire AB glass, if you guys want to use the exact same thing that I did, but Michaels carries these in quite a few selections. So it literally comes in 4 sizes. There's the large, medium, small, and extra small. I'm not sure the millimeters. It looks like it might be 10, 8, 6, 4 to me, but that is what I used. The holes were large enough to string right onto the memory wire. Now I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle to this, a little bling, and I went through all of my crystals, and none of like the 4mm bicones would fit onto this heavy duty memory wire. So I was only able to use these to make my drops on the front of the necklace more dramatic, but I found that my stash of crystal rondelle spacers did allow me to add a little bit of bling to the front part of this choker. I wanted to use the smaller ones and gradiate down, but these smaller ones would not fit on here. So I ended up, if you can see, I ended up just putting one in the sparkly drop on the end of that one. And then on this other one that we just made together, if you guys are interested, it's still drying, so I want to be careful with this one, but if you guys are interested in the exact beads that I used for the drops on here, I got these gorgeous 10mm brass stardust spacer beads from Beadbox Bargains. I don't know if they still have them on their website, but it was 20 pieces for $2.49, and it's SPC 1275, and I just love them. I love the finish on them, and they are not heavy. So for making like a longer dramatic drop on a necklace like this, you can add that bling and that sparkle without adding weight to the front. And then they also came in this small size, and this one is SPC 685. Again, I don't remember when I got these, and I'm not sure if they still have it on their website, but maybe you could search it. And then I've just had these sort of these are lightweight, blingy spacer ball beads, and they have a little bit of crystals running around the middle of them, and I just incorporated one of those in each of the drops on this necklace. So if you are interested in doing exactly or similar to the pattern that I created, those were the supplies that I used on that. So I am going to get some pictures up for all of you so that you can see the one that we made together, how it hangs, how pretty it is, and also so you can see the beauty of this reversible design as well. So I hope that you guys will have fun with these. I hope you'll make your own design and enjoy these as you travel this season and get invited to dinner parties and, like make your own sparkly jewelry for your events. So thank you so much for being with me today. Have fun on your beading mats. Ciao, jewelry makers.